Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad. My name is Austin.
And my name is Patrick.
And guys, welcome back to another episode.
Yeah, we got AVT and PAT. They talking about young Americans overseas. We got McKinney, Pulisic, Reina, and Des. Got that red, white, and blue. USA on the crest from England, Germany, from Belgium to Spain. Racking up all the medals on the trophy train. Got one thing on their mind. We're scaling some luck. One day we can say we will win the World Cup.
Well, guys, it's great to be back this week. And, Pat, we were supposed to be back last week. We had a lot to talk about, right, with the whole Jesse Marsch firing. But unfortunately, some technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we weren't able to post our video we filmed last week. So
Exactly. Some technical difficulties. I'm just kidding, guys. In case my computer screen freezes. My MacBook's been through some wear and tear. So, bear with us here. We're excited to be back. I know that was a tough episode to miss, but hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, the computer can hang on there, Austin, because we still got a lot to cover week in and week out.
yeah, and Jesse Marsch, his future is still yet to be decided. So we could talk about that a little bit, today as well, like we did last week. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting weekend, right, Pat? We had some good storylines. We also had some, concerning, I would say, troubling storylines. But all in all,
Polar
just some
opposite.
action this week.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty polar opposite, right? Some highs and lows, but at least our guys are going through it, right? Some of those experiences harden you and make you stronger over time for 2026. So that's what we need. Get them out of the system now.
That's right. Yeah. And I think we're going to start off with a performance that was really positive, and a player that it's not yet ours, right, Pat? But we're hoping, right?
We'll do our recruiting pitches, guys. Recruiting pitches.
That's right. Anthony Hudson needs to maybe pay him a visit on his trip this week. But, that player is Valérien Balogun. So if you don't know, Valérien's killing it right now in Ligue 1 over there in France. And he stayed hot again this week. So he ended up scoring a goal in Ream's 4-0 win over Eric Palmer-Brown's Troy. So, speaking of Eric Palmer-Brown, Valérien's goal actually came up against him. So it was a really nice, open, counter goal, basically. Valérien did some great work to get around Eric Palmer-Brown, using some speed, some power to kind of hold him off. And then slotted home a really nice, finish in open space. So, yeah, this goal gives him 15 on the season. Again, he's in pole position right now in the Golden Boot race over in France. And Pat, it's just been such an amazing season for him, right? He's really taken to life, being a starting striker in a top 5 league. And it's just, not something we were expecting coming into this year, right?
No, especially from the Middlesbrough time to where he's progressed now. It's really incredible. And you know what? It wasn't the best defending, right, by EPB, but also it's hard to stop somebody in that form. That's just on that high of confidence, leading the league in goal scoring. So there's only so much you can do. And it is amazing, right, from the flip side to see Balogun progress so well. But with that progression comes a lot of competition, with England. So we'll see where he ends up.
Yeah, a lot of eyes are on him now. That was very apparent, I would say, from the last few weeks, right? Even Mikel Arteta took some time this week in one of Arsenal's press conferences to speak about Balogun's success and kind of, what led him to Ream this summer. I actually have a quick quote here. So this is, again, a small snippet from that interview or that press conference. But he said, we, Arteta and Balogun, discussed a lot before he made that move, whether it was the right place to go and the other choices he had in front of him. He was so convinced. I'm really happy for him because he deserves what he's getting. So obviously, Mikel Arteta, again, from this whole little quote that he had on him, seems very high on his future and kind of the long-term plan for Balogun there at Arsenal. And I think he really keyed on what we talked about over the summer was, kind of that long holding period that went on, right? It took a long time for Valérien to kind of find his home on loan this summer. And I know we kind of talked about whether or not it made sense to stay at Arsenal, whether or not it made sense to go somewhere, depending on what league, what teams and what leagues were interested. And it really sounded like from that quote, right, that Balogun took his time, really tried to understand the situation he was walking into. Because again, he got that experience in the championship last year at Middlesbrough, which was positive, but I don't think he really got the playing time he was really looking for, right? He did get some starts here and there, but it really seems like he did his research over the summer and stepped into a team that really is suiting his needs, right? He's got a good chemistry with the players so far this season.
Exactly, and a really good point too, because you've seen on the flip side in terms of really assessing where you might go out on loan as opposed to staying with your parent club there. There's been some, if you even look from a USMNT perspective, some bad moves, right? Miazga, or again, that's obviously a different type of player and experience, but sometimes even like the Middlesbrough experience, if you went to another situation that maybe was going through coaching problems or locker room problems and didn't want to utilize him, obviously found a great situation here, but it is always a risk going out on loan. So I'm glad to see it's paid off so far.
Yeah. I'm really excited, and just really pumped to kind of see how he finishes off the season, what next season brings from him as well. And obviously, again, we want him to do well, right? It's going to make obviously the race for him a little bit more difficult. And I think he's going to have, like you talked about, Pat, a lot of different options presented to him club wise and also international career wise after this season. So yeah, I mean, it's all good things, right? I mean, it would be tough for us to be, I guess, as excited about recruiting him if he wasn't doing so well this year, right? It kind of sets that bar even higher for some of the other striker options if he does choose us and comes in, which is really positive. So yeah, I think it's fun to watch his success. Obviously, we want to be a little cautious of how much we buy into that long-term future with us, but at the end of the day, Pat, we're all dreamers in the USMNT fan base, right? We all love to dream a little bit, so why not buy in?
We have to. And just imagine him with the rest of our wingers in midfield. Oh, gosh, it's like a FIFA dream there.
It's great. Yeah, I'm excited. I really hope we see it.
I completely agree. So I guess I don't want to shift to Leeds unless you have any other last points on Balogun there, Austin.
Well, I was going to say is, Pat, I mean, he's a player destined for Leeds, right? Go on loan there next season. Take it away.
Full America maybe, but yeah. So speaking of Leeds United, there's a lot to get into, since that last episode, right? That we missed, but just the last week or so with Jesse Marsh's firing, the Armis staying there, the temporary coach, right, interim coach situation they're in comes at a really critical point of the season. They just had 2 games against Man United, which one game midweek, midweek, they played fairly well. They blew the win, but managed a 2-2 draw against United. That's okay. Take a point there. And then played really well over the weekend here and unfortunately lost 2-0. 65 minutes, fantastic, but then Man United made the right adjustments. Rashford delivered as usual. And then Leeds find themselves, again, just kind of, and fans holding your breath. 1 or 2 points ahead of Everton there, right out of the relegation spot. So it's a tumultuous time, for McKinney to come in. Marsh is out. They're still looking for a coach. They have Everton and Southampton next. They should have had that figured out, because after that, it gets a little bit rocky and dicey with some of the other top table teams. So I want to get your thoughts on that situation, Austin, in terms of the coaching timeline, and then quick thoughts on just, our Americans there against United. And it's tough in his first start midweek. It's a tough team to play against. So he did look a little bit off the pace. Some errant passes, holding the ball a little bit too long. Physically, right, I think he matched up very, very well. The aggressive nature of the Premier League. But it's still just finding chemistry with a struggling team, finding your role, right? It's not Juventus anymore, and you're not playing alongside, you don't have a Vlahovic or even Rabiot, who's kind of picked it up, right, since the World Cup. So different situation for him. But then you could see that game after game against United again over this weekend, he looked much, much better. Still needs to improve in that final third, and obviously Leeds isn't utilizing him correctly. We'll talk about that more at the set pieces, the corners. But I think he really held his own defensively, intercepting the ball a little bit more on the same page. Obviously has the chemistry with Adams. Leeds, again, played really, really well, just disappointing result. But I think, as the games go on, maybe even the next week or so, I think we'll see a much, much more improved McKennie. But I know there's a lot, guys. I'll pass it to you, Austin. What are your thoughts on Leeds, the situation they're in, manager situation, and how McKennie's, made a life at Leeds so far?
Yeah, I think, you kind of see how hard it is to integrate into a team mid-season, and especially a team in the Premier League too, right? Going up against, a top four opponent this season. So, yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for McKennie. I do back him, though. I think he'll be able to kind of settle in and be a star player for Leeds, to be completely honest. I just think he has that quality. And again, I think his skill sets really fit the Premier League. And I think it'll be interesting to, again, see what manager comes in, how they utilize him. But he's really very flexible, right? We've seen that throughout his career, whether it's at Juve playing on the wing in some games, playing at, right wing back, right back, even some games, I think at Schalke, he played center back and things like that. So he's clearly someone who is flexible and can kind of, adapt to a bunch of different situations. So I think some of his struggles so far is more just, getting his feet under him, getting used to the team, building some chemistry. But I really back him to be a success at Leeds. And again, I don't know. Leeds are in a really tough spot, right? They need to pick up points in these next two games. Again, Everton is not a good team this year. And Leeds needs to capitalize on that. And yeah, I think the coach will really kind of give you that idea of what's to come, I guess. The one coach I heard this week, Pat, which I'm sure you'd find interesting, is Steven Gerrard has interest in managing Leeds, which
interesting.
I don't know. I'm not so sure him or Frank Lampard are maybe the best managers based on some of their history so far. But I'm really curious to see who they appoint. Again, I think the big key for Leeds is just, I don't know, kind of getting some continuity at the back. We talked about it off camera a little bit, but like all their struggles this year have been late in games when they give up goals. Right. It seems like if they were able to play a full 90 minutes, they might not be in this situation.
Yeah.
Who knows,
Jesse lapse of concentration, Austin. Exactly it. The lapse of concentration where you watched this game over the weekend. I mean, shut down Rashford for the most part. They're bodying off Sancho, McKennie and Adams, bossing the midfield. In terms of, just winning the 50-50 challenges, the pressure. And then Rashford gets a header, and then, that just opens up the game. They just need, these top teams just need one or two chances. And Leeds had their chances. And obviously Rodrigo's hurt, but Bamford obviously he's been injured, has not looked very good. They just don't have, Noto, I think, is a steal too, but they don't have that poacher, right? That clinical finisher up front, which I think is really going to hurt them. Yeah. And I don't know how else to explain it. I think you explained it pretty perfectly. And I think Brendan Aronson too, the fact that he's kind of lost his form and is, not as confident in the time he's gotten recently has really hurt them as well. Cause you think he'll bounce back, Austin? What are your thoughts on that situation?
I mean, yeah, I think he'll definitely bounce back. Will it be in time to kind of help jumpstart the later part of their season here? I don't know. We haven't really seen enough to suggest that, but yeah, I think, again, when you looked at the fall, he was one of their best players on the pitch, and losing his, I guess, dynamism or just his ability to kind of unlock defenses and create chances. He was creating chances at a great clip at the beginning of the season. They've really lost that, right? And obviously they weren't taking those chances to the, best of their ability. They weren't being super efficient in capitalizing on them. But I think, now they don't have someone, creating those consistent chances like he was. So it just is making life a lot more difficult for them. We'll kind of see what happens with them. Do we want to talk about maybe Jesse Marsch for a second too? Do you want to kind of?
Yeah. Some interesting rumors swirling around. Apparently he hasn't left England, Austin.
Very
There's
interesting.
another club at the bottom there, rock bottom, that might be interested. Care to share a little bit
Right, rock bottom. Sorry.
more? Not north, opposite of north.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's Southampton, right, Austin? So
Mhm.
I know you were looking at some of their players. They have good quality talent there, but just haven't, maybe similar to Leeds, where they just haven't gotten results. They haven't found that cohesion together. There's been some serious injuries, which I'm sure you can touch on a little bit more. But
Yeah, defensively.
yeah, I think personally, I tweeted this out as well. We tweeted this out this morning that maybe Marsh needs to go to a situation where it's not 2 or 3 games do or die. You need to get out of the relegation zone. Maybe at Southampton, they're really, I don't think they're going to pull out, regardless who's their manager. Maybe it's good to reset in the championship, dominate there, and then have that situation where Jesse Marsh can pull a team back into promotion and build from there. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when you first said it to me, when we started, filming tonight, I was really against it. And again, I think it stems from the success they've had this year. They're a very young team, right? They're not super mature. They don't really have that experience. So the more I thought about it, the way you pitched it, right? If he is given more than just this season, and let's just say they do go down right to the championship, I actually kind of like it. I really like the team that they have at the moment, in terms of building for the future, right? So they made a lot of moves in the transfer market as well this winter. So just to go through it real quick, they've got they just signed Oniachu, the striker from Bruges that we've seen from watching McKinney or Genk, sorry, not Bruges. They also signed Sulemana, the Ghanaian winger, who's also a pretty good player, had a decent World Cup. They signed a young Argentinian midfielder who looks pretty decent, Orsic from Croatia, who was at the World Cup. So yeah, they spent some money this transfer window to kind of, build out their squad a little bit. Obviously, some of those guys are on the younger side too, which really helps, Marsh if he stays longer than this season. And like I said, they have a lot of young talent right now. So something we've seen from Jesse in his entire career is he works well with young talent, right? He's kind of been able to mold some of his younger players into, more established professionals, grow them over the course of time, right? You saw that at Salzburg specifically. You've seen that with Tyler Adams. You've seen that with some other players, at the Red Bulls as well. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting challenge. I just am worried, again, by their, activity in the transfer window. They're obviously buying a lot of players to stay up this season. So, is he going to be given enough time? I think that's the biggest question in the hiring process is it going to be past the season, no matter what the results are, or is it going to be solely to keep them in the Premier League, which I don't think makes sense for them long term. Personally, I just don't think they have the team right now to really compete long term in the Premier League. But
the life of those clubs, man, that sit at the bottom just year after year, and it's just 6-month managers, 6 months, just stay up. You really.
But to be fair, Southampton's one of those teams that has stayed up, right? They've got a lot of money compared to the championship teams they're going to be competing against next year. So I don't know. Again, you look at a team that you could go to with some, I don't know what the right word is, clout or talent even, you'd rather be in that position than going to a championship team that doesn't have that, right? Because we talked, last week, unfortunately, you guys didn't hear any of it, but the question was posed, right? Should Jesse go to a championship team and try and start out there maybe instead of working in the Premier League? And I don't know. I think, again, having some more talent at your disposal, some more money and resources could be the better option if you're going to go the whole championship route.
Completely agree.
Yeah. But he could be the USMNT manager too. So, you never know what the future holds.
The rumor mill of Jesse Marsh. Gosh, what a 2020
with Jim Curtin, assistant coach, get the gang back together. Tab Ramos, another assistant coach.
Oh, man. Awesome. You're going down the rabbit hole, man. I love it. Bring them all back.
Yeah. Bruce Arena, technical director. Bob
That's where I
Bradley.
draw the line.
Gio.
That's where I draw the line. Bruce Arena. I don't want to hear that name again.
All right. Sorry, bro. Jurgen Klinsmann, technical director. We'll go with that one instead. But on that note, I think we'll switch over to our next topic for today. And this one's a fun one, Pat.
Yeah,
So
this is a good one.
it comes from, the Rangers game this weekend. So Rangers, played a game in the Scottish Cup this weekend against Partick Thistle. They ended up winning 3-2 in a really thrilling game. And two Americans featured primarily in, this end result. So kind of how it set up, the game was 1-1, I believe somewhere midway through the second half. I don't remember the exact minutes, but basically, something happened. The Rangers player kicked the ball out intentionally. So Partick Thistle inbounded it, was going to kick it back to Rangers to give them possession back as a sign of goodwill and good sporting conduct. In doing that, the player, and you said this, Pat, to me, took a terrible touch, which is
terrible touches. Terrible.
Very clear in the video, very clear. And I guess Malik Tillman did not get the memo that this was going to be the case, and that it was going to be a harmless kick back to them. So he ended up pouncing on the touch, took it all the way down the field, and ended up scoring.
Impressive run.
Yeah, it was an impressive run. Nice little finish at the end there. But was promptly thrown to the ground after the goal in disgust by the Partick Thistle players, who made him aware that was not the part of the script. And a big fight ensued after that, or pushing and shoving argument match. And what ended up happening was Rangers let Thistle score a goal to make it 2-2, again out of goodwill to them. So after all that was said and done, hey, another American capitalized on the day. Late on in the second half, James Sands actually played hero, providing the game-winning goal for Rangers to help push them on to, I believe, the semifinals of the Scottish Cup. Or maybe it's the quarterfinals, I want to say. The quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup. So, all in all, kind of a crazy storyline of the game. So what was your take on all of it, Pat? It was quite fun to watch on video.
Yeah, it was pretty fun to watch. I honestly, I don't think Tillman, I think it was some type of miscommunication, didn't get the word. I don't think he would intentionally do that. So just a interesting situation, but also terrible, seconds and 2 or 3 touches the defender. I mean, gosh, that was just, I don't know what he was doing there. It was almost deserved to be taken off, but was it the right thing to do, I guess, in the long run? Sure, to even it out. And I guess ultimately the soccer gods went in favor of Rangers anyway, right? Where James Sands was able to make an impact. But I think, excluding this strange incident aside, Tillman's impressive run and just his time at Rangers, he's really, really developed well. And we've said it with Rangers, Celtic. Such a fantastic, not only for American players, but just a lot of players that maybe need to go on loan or just kind of, reset or just progress right to that next stage as that launching pad. Tillman's just blossomed here. He's adored by the fans, the culture. I think he does love it there, but definitely sees this as a short-term stop to get to, top 4 or 5 league. I think he definitely has that quality, Austin.
Yeah, and I think what was really apparent from this whole little scuffle was just his confidence and comfort being on the pitch, being in this team. You could see his teammates interacting with him interacting with his teammates. And I always look for that in these loans, right? You can really tell a lot about the development of the player based on their comfort within their environment, right? And I think obviously production plays a role in that as well, right? He's produced for them this year, so he has that level of stature at the club where the players respect him. It's understood that he's an impact player for them. So yeah, I thought that was really positive. And from what we've heard from him, though, he's very interested at staying in Rangers, staying at the club, which again, I agree with you, Pat. I think the season's been good for him. I think it's really been able to kind of develop that base for his professional career and get that, confidence underneath him. But I really think he can do better than this team personally. And I think maybe a loan to the Bundesliga next year, to a mid-table team that can give him some consistent playing time, I think would be a really positive next step in his development. So that's why, you've heard all season, especially, the past month or so about, Rangers making an official move after this loan. And I'm in the mindset that I kind of don't want that to happen. I kind of want him to go back to Bayern, and kind of evaluate his future from there. But time will tell. The other player, again, that we talked about today is James Sands. So Malik Tillman's doing really well with Rangers.
Polar
James
opposite,
Sands, he's kind of hit that, kind of plateau. It's not even a plateau. He's kind of reached a dip in his career. So only 9 minutes in 2023 before this game. He played all 90 minutes over the weekend. So, now is 99 minutes on the year so far. And, got some playing time before the World Cup. Was kind of in and out of the lineup.
Center back a lot, Austin, as opposed to CDM. He was primarily a center back.
Yeah, he's been used a lot as a center back, which, again, I don't think that's terrible. I think he's a decent center back, but again, he hasn't been on the pitch, right? That's really been the biggest complaint. So, yeah, I just think, hopefully this performance will help jumpstart that again and get him some more minutes. But if not, then I think he is also a player that kind of needs to reevaluate his future after this and just see if, again, Rangers is the best option for him. I don't know where the next move for him would be. I don't know if it's a move back to MLS, because I believe this move to Rangers was permanent, right? This isn't a loan for him. So, I don't know what his options are, but we'll see. Hopefully this jump starts his minutes and things work out for the best. But something to keep an eye on.
Hopefully, he can pick it up quick, Austin, and it's not always a bad thing. Just to I think MLS, right? NYCFC. I mean, there's a lot of quality teams, and the levels, solid there to just go back and have a strong club career stateside. But yeah, hopefully he can fight for his place and continue to get minutes there. But yeah, we're what 65% of the way through the season, so the clock's kind of ticking down for him. So
really fun player too.
Yeah,
I really like his playing style. So that's where it's like just tough.
I want to see him not in a center back. I want to see him a little bit up this as a CDM.
Yeah. We still could use some backup sixes, so it could be someone to keep an eye on, but
we'll see. But I guess we should pivot right to Spain. Talk about Yunus Musah in Valencia.
Someone who does a lot of pivoting, right?
A lot of pivoting, getting the heck out of Dodge. So Austin. Just to recap, this past weekend, another loss for Valencia. Musah did start, played 67 minutes, 2-1 loss to Athletic Club there. So, they haven't won a game in 2023. I think they've only won one league game, one or two. I'll have to double check. It might only be one since the World Cup. It has been a tumultuous time. Gattuso, right, 2 weeks ago, sacked. Continuing a string of losses, Copa del Rey loss to Athletic Club as well. Prior. So, it's just been a tough time for the team in Yunus, right? Who hasn't necessarily looked bad, but he hasn't looked great either.
Yeah.
And I think that's something interesting that we were talking off camera. We'll get into, but it almost seems like he's hit this plateau, and it's a dire situation, right? Being in a relegation spot, but there's just not much to work with that final third. Cavani is aging. The players they have up there, it just nothing's kind of working right. And Musah's playing very, very conservative, safe. Having again great ball, progression and possession. Winning great ground duels and aerials in the middle of the park, but you're not seeing that explosiveness, right? You're not seeing those assists or taking those shots or getting a little bit farther up. And maybe that's not his role there. But I still think he has a lot to develop. His ceiling's still high. And I'm just worried if he stays here, which if they get relegated, he definitely won't. But if they somehow survive, I still think for the sake of his development, he needs to get out of there.
Yeah, and I think we want to be clear, too. I don't know if it's I think based on the teams standing right now, it's sound the alarm. But so I think with Musah, I don't think we're super concerned maybe about him and his development at the moment. I think it's, we're definitely a little concerned, but I think it's more about the team standing, right? The team is not doing well. And I think the biggest complaint, or I guess the thing we're watching with Musah right now, and you kind of saw it at the World Cup too, right? Is he's more of a connector right now. He hasn't really been able to kind of add, another quality to his game. He's really good at holding possession, right? And kind of, winning the ball back in midfield, which is definitely an important task. And I think something
Absolutely.
that he's pretty good at. Yeah. But when you talk about, and again, I kind of look at Wes McKennie a little bit as like the model of what he could be, which I know some people may disagree with how good Wes McKennie is and what he does. But I think what Wes McKennie does well is again, connect to attack, right? You see him whip in crosses and get in positions, getting into the box even to score goals, and make an impact on set pieces too. I don't know if that's necessarily, Musah's strong suit, but I really think, there's more to be had there, especially when you talk about the ceiling that we think Musah has, right? The best players in the world aren't just holding possession. And again, if he becomes elite in winning the ball back, which again, I don't think he's reached elite status by any means. I still think he's got a lot of work to do.
Right.
That could be a way where, again, he takes that next step. And maybe that's something you should focus on now in this position. But I just think right now, again, like you talked about, Pat, we kind of just, see him stay in the status quo a little bit, right? And showcase some of his skills and his talent, but he hasn't really expanded on those skills. And I think that's maybe why we're a little concerned on top of the club situation too.
Right. And I just think that kind of plays into each other, right? And it has an effect, cause an effect with that, because
true,
your club's not playing well. I mean, it's hard to take it upon yourself and showcase and push, right? Just because of everybody might be in that mindset of, what's going wrong, or loss of form, loss of confidence. You're just not playing
out of rhythm, even, right?
Yeah, and you even saw it with the fans, right? Austin, I forgot to mention, 90%, I think I saw on social media, were outside the stadium. Didn't even go into the game, but they were all outside the stadium, microphones, like protesting, chanting, because they've been bad. That's one of the most out of form teams, I think, in Europe. They haven't won a game since one or two since the World Cup. I mean, that is not good. And Valencia, right? They're not a Barca, Real Madrid, but they're usually a top 8, top 9. So it's really concerning.
Yeah, and I think, it's just tough in that environment, right? I mean, we've seen it with Pepe and Augsburg. We've seen it, with Josh Sargent at Bremen, obviously at different positions, but it's tough to get continuity in those teams and create some, some baseline for you to even play, possession-based soccer around, right? Like, I'm not watching Valencia week in and week out, to be completely honest. So I don't know exactly the ins and outs of their struggles at the moment, but you got to think, if they're not, winning games, right? They're not very cohesive as a team. They're not able to, probably string too much possession together. And it's tough to improve as a player when, again, those are the things you're trying to improve upon. That's why, again, maybe Musah should look to hone his defensive skills and become more of a defensive menace during this time. But I agree with you, Pat. I think he's got to look to leave this summer and just get to a better environment.
Right.
Even if it's, again, as more of a role player for maybe a bigger club. Maybe take a step down and go to a smaller team in whatever league makes sense, and kind of bet on himself a little bit. But I think he's got a lot of thinking to do here.
Exactly. And the last quick add to that, perfect points you brought up. I think it really comes down to what's the best situation in terms of managers, the club philosophy and culture to develop someone like him. Like
Balogun,
it's a good club that he's a spot starter, or maybe a 50%, 40% starting on the bench, or can work his way in, but just be around a good culture, a team that develops. Dream would maybe be like how Dortmund develops their players, or even Klopp. Obviously not the best time right now with Liverpool has taken some of those players, right? And some young guys like a Harvey Elliott or Basatic, or there's a few clubs right across Europe that, and even maybe smaller leagues, right? Bigger fish and smaller leagues that really have developed. I just think, some Serie A teams have been linked to him. There's some good development there. But yeah, it's just, and we even said it before the situation, I think he's just kind of outgrown Valencia, he's been starter for a year and a half now. He had some spot minutes even before then, but he slowly progressed, and now it's at the point where he just needs to. It doesn't have to be a massive step, but it just needs to make that next step to a culture that's a little bit stronger in terms of maybe fighting for Europa or Champions League football, and has a great management system underneath.
Yeah, that's a great point, Pat. Yeah, kind of fitting in with a place that the standard's a lot higher than it is for Valencia right now, and I fully agree. Well, yeah, so that's all for this part of our episode. Now let's head over, guys, to quick kicks.
All right, guys, my favorite time of the show, right? To start off quick kicks, I got 2 key points, Austin, 2 key topics. First, Full America. We got to give a shout out to the old dog, Tim Ream, right? Not a usual on our Young Americans Abroad, but Antonee Robinson's there, right, at the back line. Ream and Robinson have been tremendous. 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest, another clean sheet, 6th place, I believe. Fulham is just they're having an unbelievable season, and it's fantastic to see Antonee getting some suitors now from Manchester City rumors and other clubs right across Europe, and Tim Ream just aging like wine, man. He's incredible. So how can you not root for that story there? Second topic, right? Shifting gears actually to a younger U.S. Youth player playing in Croatia, and that is Rokas Pukstas, who has had a tremendous rise, a meteoric rise this season with his club there, where he actually had for Hajduk Split this past weekend 2 goals, to push them up for a win and get in the second best position for the Croatian top flight. So he's attracting a lot of interest now, just kind of early eyes on him. I think some big clubs in Europe have been linked, for maybe a long-term project or development, but exciting to see, right? We saw him a little bit on the Youth International Tournament stage, and now cementing his spot on the team there for Hajduk Split and getting some goals, adding that to his game. It's exciting to watch, man.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from him last year in the CONCACAF U20 tournament. I thought he looked really tidy in possession, and just had something about him that was a little bit different than some of our other midfield options in that tournament. So yeah, great to hear that he's doing well this year. So I got 2 players for quick kicks today as well. And one that, again, kind of aged out of our young Americans here.
That's
but
okay. Bring him back.
Player we wanted to show love to, Sebastian Saucedo. So, scored a goal for Toluca, over the weekend. 26 years old at the moment, playing in Liga MX, could still be, an option for us going forward, right? A very, quality technical player, not the most, I would say, physically imposing, right? He's not going to blow by you with his speed or anything, but could be an option, right? If we play Copa America 2024, maybe play Gold Cup that summer as well. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is with that. He could be, a B or C team player for us. And then another player that, again, we're hoping to kind of see a renaissance, right? And kind of a kickstart for his career at some point here in the next year or so is Richie Ledezma. So this weekend was actually linked to a move to NYCFC in MLS. So it would be great to see him get just more minutes, right? He's been hampered so much by injury the past 2 to 3 years. But just, really fun talent. When he's on his game and when he's fully healthy, he's a really dynamic player. So would love to see him just get more playing time, get to see him play regularly in MLS would be great. Obviously, Chris Gloucester, his old PSV teammate, plays on NYCFC as well. So it'd be just great to see him, get back on the field. Well, that's all for episode today, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
Don't forget Instagram, Twitter, all the social media platforms. Check out our content. Follow us if you haven't yet, guys. We're always posting, especially with all this Marsh drama and player transfer rumors and all the above.
Yeah, and this episode's also available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So go check us out there. Please leave us a review. We really appreciate it.
So, Austin, how are you feeling with all the players in relegation dogfights? Honestly,
yeah,
we'll bring that angle right from the Leeds group. Ricardo Pepi, obviously on loan. You have Yunus Musah. You have quite a few players going through it. But in the same breath, Some players doing really well, getting linked to big clubs. So just like this episode, it has been really just not in the middle. It's been high and low for our boys abroad.
Yeah, definitely. Weird return from the World Cup, right?
Yeah,
Even thinking of like Serginho Dest not doing so hot at his club, Christian Pulisic obviously out injured. Yeah, it's been interesting, but hey, that's why we're here, right? We're riding the waves of this USMNT
that's
cycle.
right. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows, right? You got to suffer a little bit to improve, right?
Right? That's life, man. You got to learn from the lows, right? Appreciate the highs that much more. So, yeah, and obviously you guys know all this leads one day to the USMNT winning a World Cup.